All right, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you had a good lunch and some good conversation. We're going to get this afternoon's activities rolling here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start getting to actually put some of the things that we're starting to learn to work for ourselves. But to begin us this afternoon, we've got Nicole Corbin, who is our instructional designer at Unidata. Will be giving us an introduction to storytelling and a primer kind of on the take-home project, which will be the main working thing that we're going to work on many afternoons this week. And so, Nicole, take it away.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Very excited to be here with you all today and online. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about storytelling a bit, kind of do a little bit of an intro to some really wonderful storytelling sessions that we have later tomorrow. And then we'll talk about the take-home project and applying some of those exploratory data analysis and data access techniques that you learned earlier into a project. So if we were to summarize what we've been talking about so far today, is we've been talking a lot about data. Surprise, surprise, right? However, data by themselves are kind of meaningless. You know, it's just some numbers. It might just be something that's in a file on your computer somewhere. It isn't until we present that data that it becomes information. And that information informs, right? It informs someone about something. But it doesn't do enough to actually drive action that we might need from our data. It isn't until that information becomes insight that we're actually drawing the conclusions, we're doing relationships between different things. These insights are data presented within context that inspire that action and decision making. So if we're talking about the context of Earth System Sciences, the kind of insights that we're looking for are those that promote sustainability, that drive innovation, improve safety, among many, many, many other things, right? And the way that we communicate these insights is through story, right? So in this particular session with me here today, we are going to be describing the take-home project goals. We'll be talking about defining an intended audience for our story, and then we'll do some exploration of digital storytelling tools that we can use in our take-home project. So let's talk about the take-home project and what that actually is. So it is a digital storytelling tool that tells the story of data that you choose. And it's quite large, it's quite expansive of a topic, right? And that's kind of the point of it, is that you get to choose your data, you get to choose the story to tell from that data. So we have carved out some time every single day in this workshop for you to apply the knowledge and skills, and we've scaffolded each of these parts of the days to get to that final project. So our goals for the project and what you should be thinking about as we work through this are using some storytelling principles that we'll get much deeper into in tomorrow's sessions to tell the story of your data and any resulting analyses or insights, and then also to share that story with your intended audience. So for each of our 4 days, we're going to start off today talking about digital storytelling tools and the exploratory data analysis that we went through earlier today. And then tomorrow we will work on story structure and interdisciplinary context. On day 3, that's when we get into our ethical data usage and analysis. And then we cap it off with open data, contributions, and sharing our stories. I'll say this with a little disclaimer that I don't want you to feel pressured to create the most perfect final product by the end of this session, because we do have a limited amount of time for us to work together synchronously here. We're working across many, many different time zones, so we only have so much time that we can dedicate towards working. So please do not feel pressured to have to create something perfect by the end of these. You will have time at the end of day 4 to think about what are those pending tasks, what are the things that you would like to do on your own once you get back home. So yes, this is your opportunity to explore, to get feedback from other people, to work with your peers. And yeah, so let's talk now about choosing an audience. I'm skipping over the data choosing process of our part of the take-home project, and that's mostly because you will have plenty of opportunity to do so when we work. And we've had a bunch of really great sessions earlier this morning talking about exploratory data analysis and how to find your data. So, choosing an audience, you're probably going to want to ask yourself a series of questions that look something like this. So, who needs to know about these data and the impacts that are associated with these data? And then also, what can you safely assume that the audience already knows? How can you meet the audience where they are? And then finally, what will motivate your audience to engage or to act or make decisions like you're trying to do with your data? We often call this the WIFM. Does anyone, by a raise of hands or digital raise of hands, have ever heard of this acronym before? Maybe? Yes, we've got one. Would you like to share? Fair enough.
Because I've heard of it, but I'm blocked of.
Fair enough.
What's in it for me?
What's in it for me?
That's right. I was like, you just needed it.
Exactly. Yeah, so we want to know of our audience. They're going to be asking us, what's in it for me? Why do I need to listen to the story that you are trying to tell me? And this is how we're going to attach to our audience and make sure that we're arming them with the information and the insights that they need for action and decision making. So I would like for us all now to apply this to an example scenario. Let's say that the data that we are choosing is historical sea level rise in Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm going to ask the audience now, who might need to know about these data? And I'm watching the chat, and for hands here, yes?
Urban planners.
Urban planners. Yes?
Property owners.
Property owners, yep. Anyone living and working on the coast, Wilmington residents. Yeah, let's take that. So let's say we are going to be trying to tell a story to the residents of Wilmington, North Carolina. What's in it for them? Why do they want to know? Haley wants to know because she has a swim race there in October. Why else might residents of Wilmington, North Carolina want to know about these data? Yes?
About buying property or just, city planning.
Yeah, so if someone is planning on buying property there in Wilmington, North Carolina, they probably want to know if they're going to be affected by the trends in these data. How about other things that folks might want to know? Yeah.
They want to know what kind of insurance they should get, so maybe if they should invest more in flood insurance.
Yeah, insurance. That's another really big one. That's really relevant right now, too, if you've heard some of that in the news. So what kind of prior knowledge do these people have? What can we safely assume that they might already know? And where can we meet them where they are with our data set? Yeah.
A lot of people probably know that, or have the assumption that sea levels are generally rising.
Yeah, they probably have an understanding that in general sea level is rising. I think I saw another hand over here. Yes.
I was going to say, depending on the geography of who you're talking to, in North Carolina, it's probably a pretty polarizing topic.
Yes, exactly. It can get polarizing, can get a bit political. I see here in the chat too, past experience with storm surge. This is not something that's uncommon to people who have been living there for quite a while. So yeah, those are all pretty safe assumptions. So how might those things change if instead of residents of Wilmington, of North Carolina, what if we're presenting at a scientific conference instead? What's in it for those people? What's in it for me for someone at a conference of other scientists? Yeah.
What are the caveats around the data? Are there any issues, quality control, that kind of stuff?
Yep, quality control, quality issues, yes.
How it applies to other areas? Is this just a local thing in Wilmington, North Carolina, or does this apply to other locations?
Yeah, expanding our region, is this a trend that's just localized to Wilmington, or is it something that's throughout the rest of the Outer Banks or the East Coast? Yeah, so as we can see, that there are going to be differences in the way that we want to present information depending on that audience that we're working with. So we'll keep that in mind and we'll return back to it in our working session after this. So let's talk about choosing our digital tool now. This is where we get really fun and creative. It'll be great. So given your audience, consider where you will be meeting them, because this is going to be an important criterion for choosing that digital tool. So are you going to be meeting with your audience at an event, something like this? Or will you be engaging with them online via social media or a blog or a website? The venue and the audience, making sure that your audience has access to that venue, are going to be critical parts of choosing which tool you would like. So there are many options, and I'll be covering a few here, but it is definitely not the only way that you can choose to create a digital storytelling tool. This session here and this workshop that we've created for the next 4 days is a chance for you to exercise your creativity. Fun. I'm excited about it. So allow me now to provide some inspiration for what that might look like. Okay. So we are starting first with an example of ArcGIS story maps. These are a digital tool that was made for doing data storytelling. Stay. So this is a way of combining a lot of our ways of telling stories. We've got text, images, audio, video. Please stay. Please stay. I think you're right. So I'm.
It's only in the room though. It's not on Zoom.
Okay. Let me go back. It will stop. It should not repeat. There we go. Excellent. Okay. So these this is a, I swear. This is a web-based application that you can use. There are free and freemium versions of this. If you already use ArcGIS for your WebGIS, then this is a perfect way for, and you may already know about this product, for showcasing your data in context with other widgets and tools, and providing an easy way to share that online. So I'd like to show you an example of one of these. I'm going to accept all the cookies as soon as I find my cursor. There we go. All right, so here's an example of an ArcGIS story map. We can see that as we scroll down, we've got, we can have different chapters to things. We have our narrative here. We can combine some really emotional images in with our narrative and our data. And then if we scroll down to, I think probably around here, this is where you can see some of that integration with your WebGIS. So they've got some 3D scenes in here, so you can display your data in 3 dimensions on a globe. Kind of rolls around, things like that. So that is one of our options. Another one of our options is something that you have a lot of experience visualizing today, Jupyter Notebooks as well. This is, again, designed for a narrative to go along with your data science. So these are commonly used with Python, but they aren't the only language that you can use these notebooks for. You can also use them with R and Julia, and I think maybe a few others even now. But these are really wonderful for step-by-step programming tutorials. I use them a lot as educational tools. And we also have, as we've seen from our earlier talks as well, that there are some other tools for some interactive visualizations that you can be putting in those notebooks as well. So a lot of resources for that. We can also get maybe a little more vanilla with just creating a blog. And there's lots of different avenues there for blogging. So 2 of the ones that I'm highlighting are Medium and LinkedIn. These are really good for sharing via social media. LinkedIn especially because you can create your blog there, and if you have like a professional network that you've already set up there, that it automatically goes out to all those folks. So I can show you an example of one that you've probably seen. Maybe not the actual story, but I'm sure that at some point in your life, you've seen a Medium blog. Yes. Yeah. So this is where we can get a really clean looking interface with all of our text and graphics and all of that. Come back over. Okay. Then we have video. Very fun. This is great for immersing your audience into an environment. You can be conducting interviews, or you can demo technology. Or if getting yourself or other people on camera is something that seems a little intimidating to you, I myself was definitely intimidated when I put my own face in this video. So there are even lower barriers to entry for videos as well. You can do a screen recording with some creative slides and a script, and you can still create a really informative and engaging story using just those tools. And then classic, tried and true, our slides and our posters, right? But what you might want to explore in your time here is some different tools that might engage your creativity with creating that story. I have here a screenshot of Canva, which has some really neat looking PowerPoint templates. And depending on, this is again like a free and freemium kind of a thing. So there is a free version, but there's like a paid version that you could get as well. You may have access to the premium for free through your university, potentially. So you might want to check that out, but this might be a way of getting some inspiration for creating a visually interesting PowerPoint. Also on the slides and posters, has anyone heard of this #BetterPoster movement? I'm seeing a couple of hands in here too. Okay, excellent, awesome. I didn't know what it was until I heard about it from our dear Susan Jasko, who we'll be hearing from tomorrow. So this is a movement for kind of bringing that UX design into poster presentations. So making sure that our main findings are very clear in plain text at the middle of our poster. And there's also a couple of examples that we have that are entirely HTML based as well. So even making that ability to see those posters digitally even better. So there's been a ton of information here. I do not expect any of you to memorize any of that because we have built a website for all of your information related to this project. So if you go to the Unidata homepage under the events tab, you are probably already familiar with this particular event page. On the sidebar is a take-home project tab that has all of the resources that I've shared with you here today. And if any of you were thinking, this is too many options and I feel kind of anxious about it, I got you covered too. So, oh, I don't know where that went. But anyway, you can see on this smaller screen, I hope it's still on the Zoom. Okay, great. Great. We've created a decision tree. It is definitely not like this is what you must do in choosing whichever digital storytelling tool you would like. But this is a way to help guide you through that decision-making process. So to sum up, what we talked about in this particular session is what the take-home project is and what the goals of that project are. We've talked about defining an intended audience and then went through a couple of digital storytelling tools. So now the question to you all is, how are you going to turn your data into information and into insights? And finally, into story. Thank you. I can take a couple of questions now, but we will roll into the working session immediately after this. So as I change some of this stuff around here, I can take a few questions. Yes?
What are your favorite tools?
It depends on the audience and, and my data. Yeah, to be very honest. But I do love something that has a lot of customization in it. So something where I'm the kind of person that I love a template if it's available, but a lot of times I just want to create something from scratch because I get stubborn in my brain. So, yes, Susan.
Nicole, I was wondering when you, what you can now see up on the side screens, when you had that slide up for us and you were talking about it, you said about, this is the Medium blog, I think, right, where it has such a clean interface, right? Can you just be a little bit more descriptive about what you mean by that and why it matters?
Yeah, so think about yourself as you're engaging with digital content. imagine going onto a web page and you're seeing ads for something that you searched 3 days ago and it's just like plastered all over. That's a lot of cognitive load that you're getting in through your eyeballs and you're not able to focus just on the content at hand. So creating something that's in a clean layout like this helps the audience, the person who is reading your story, to more clearly just get to what it is that you're trying to tell, those insights that you're trying to describe through your story.
This blog, like in that example that you can see, right? Notice that it's a blog, so it's a lot of writing, right? It's a lot of words. But the words are chunked up into paragraphs that are not too big, right? And that's part of reducing cognitive load for us, right? As we're looking at it, and remember, if you think all the way back to grammar school, where you learned that each paragraph has one idea, right? One thing it's saying, and then we go to the next thing that we want to say, right? And we create a few bridges. I see people laughing at me, but people forget, right? When you're writing in other styles or you're in a hurry, a lot of stuff gets crammed in to one big paragraph or sometimes a sentence that's like the whole length of the page. That's really like taking away it's adding cognitive load rather than taking it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Susan.
Hey, Nicole,
Yes.
that's why we see you full screen over there.
Yeah, okay. So I think now, as long as there's no other, oh, there is.
Yeah, I don't expect you to have an answer to this, but maybe others in the room have thought about this too, or maybe you have as well. But things venues like Medium, LinkedIn, you could think of Substack. We're sort of on the borderline of like where you're getting into the realm of paid subscriptions and all that. And I don't know, I don't know what the right answer is for that for some of our academic stuff, because I could imagine some of the kind of content that gets created would be feasible for a paid Substack or something like that. But then there's probably like ethical issues around that. Even Medium is like that, right? You can only look at 6 articles per month or whatever before you have to start paying. So I don't know if you've thought at all about that
Yeah,
issue.
so I can say that all of the resources that we provide here have free options. Again, some of them have that like freemium where they're free, but you can only get 6 articles. I will say that with Medium in particular, there are ways that as you're writing articles to make sure that they're free for everyone. So they don't get capped by the amount of articles that you can read per day. So it is something that we're very aware of, and that's why we wanted to make sure that all the resources that we're sharing here have that free option. But in a lot of times, yes, when you pay for premium tools, you're getting more of the bells and whistles. But yeah, it's another choice as you're thinking about your audience. If anyone else has other things to add to that, I would welcome any comments. If not, we can definitely talk about it in our working session. Okay, everyone should be in their rooms then. And I think we're good. So we're ready to roll in this room. Please, enjoy, explore.